not an actual tree, is a ramification of atoms, of subatomic particles that vibrates and resounds constantly. So from that tree of life that expands, we have the other tree that contracts and goes back to the center, which is the tree of knowledge. And the purpose of the tree of knowledge is to reconnect all this information that has been expanded to give a meaning, a sense to each one of its creations. So it's like an invisible string, which is so impossible to count, to perceive, to measure, that people 2 centuries ago call it quantum, which is the quantic reality. The quantic reality means there is no measurement for this. It's something that is impossible to understand because there's no way to put numbers on it. So the quantum realm basically is this tree of knowledge, this tree of wisdom that connects every vibration throughout the entire cosmos in packages of information. Like every time that you have a note A, it will connect at the same time you play the note A in 440 hertz, it will connect with all the notes A in 440 hertz in all the universe, and they will all resound at the same time. So this resonance of being of resounding throughout the entire universe helps us understand that there are no packages of like fruits that are disconnected along the entire universe, but that every note or every particle that resounds in A are actually the same one, expanded in time and space. So it means that there are no division in the resonance or the vibration, but it's a constant, and we perceive it as divided because it wraps itself like in packages of information. But actually, it's a consequence, it's a constant throughout time and space. This means that for the universe, the wisdom of the tree of knowledge is related to every package of information. So organize everything in bubbles of resonance and frequency. This is what we call potestats or potential. Potential means the power that holds every vibration. And there is another way in which the Greek people calls the power of the sound. Power of the sound, or message of power, in Greek language it's archangel. So archeangelo basically means that package of powerful information. So the tree of life is actually what we call Metatron. Metatron is a structure of geometry that means the throne that is beyond. It's like the king of kings of information, which is all the different packages of information that resounds exactly the same. So there is one of those packages of information that, for example, encodes all the potentiality of light. So that's why all the potentials of light, of cosmic light, we in Semitic language call it Ur-El. So the name Uriel, for example, represents the power of the light. We have also the potential of the cosmos, which is Gabur-El, so it's Gabriel. So all the names of the archangels in this structure of geometry are basically the fruits of knowledge in packages of information that resound in a quantum level and creates the tree of knowledge. And because we are a consequence of that creation, because we are basically a fractal of all of that, inside of our own body, we have also cells with that information of the tree of knowledge and the tree of life. But because we are a fractal, it means that we can access. But in order to become, we need to connect in a higher level, which means that we have to be very aware of all ourselves in order to access to the tree of life or the tree of knowledge. It means that we need connections with others, basically because all information is spread in the third dimension. It's so spread around that each one of us has a tiny little speck of each one of the informations and resonance of the universe, which means that nobody, never, in a human body can have the whole truth. So you need thousands of people around the world in order to find a complete idea of a truth, because it's impossible for only one person to encode the whole thing. It needs different aspects, different parts, like if each human is a fruit of this tree, like if every being, every plant, and you can access to that tree through breaking the code of those cells. And usually we have two ways of doing this. Through the light, which is a masculine side, or through food, which is a feminine side. These two ways of finding how to crack the information of a cell and activate the kundalini of the cell are the ones that have created the idea of culture for the food and the idea of religion through the light. So some people try to find the evolution of the tree of knowledge and life through cultural beliefs, and other ones through religious belief. To understand these two options, we have to go first to the cultural belief, which is the most ancient one. And it's related to the feminine because it's related to the needs of the earth. And that's where the word family comes from. Family means to be hungry. It comes from famine. So when people were living in the middle of the forest and there were nothing to harvest from trees, nothing to eat around, people decided to get together in order to create a way in which they all could have food, so they all were together. This coming together in order to survive is what was called be together because we are hungry. And that's the concept of family. So family is a group of people that tries to survive by harvesting or hunting together. This created the idea of keeping the tradition around food. So when do we have to grow the things? When do we have to hunt? So all the cultures and all the food, the fruit that we eat, the animal that we eat, were opening doors inside our cell to cracking data, to opening the tree of life and taking something new, bringing information from the outside to opening new information within. So basically, we become what we eat. And that's one of the main tasks that we have to encode the tree of life. What do we eat and how do we eat it in order to open the tree of life and communicate with our snake, which is the kundalini inside the DNA. The 4 elements of our DNA are reactivated and reorganized according to the hormones, the proteins, the sugar that we eat from the outside. So depending on what we eat, the tree of life will reorganize that information, and the snake of the DNA will give us the chance to see something hidden within us that if you don't find the right code, it would never open. So through culture, we have figured out different ways in which we can create, understand, grow, expand, and it unlocked many of the data that we have within in our DNA, in our own tree of life. And basically, the last part of the tree of life that we have to face in order to activate data and to break the system is something very common that we all have, which is mom. So our relationship with the mother is basically the relationship with every one of the cells and every one of the food that we have eaten throughout all the process of evolution, and the way in which our DNA is locked and organized is related to how we relate with our mother. It's from the feminine side that all this power of creation comes. So by resonance, our relationship with our mother can also determine how we are going to open the information in ourselves. In the other side, religion, or the masculine side of it, which is the connection with the light. The other way in which the cells can crack information and crack the system and enter and transform it is through photons. The photons that come from the sun or other stars and go through the planet with the ultraviolet rays and all the different infrared and ultraviolet, the different frequencies that comes to our planet from the light of the sun and the stars, they can modify and change and create mutations in our DNA. They break the molecules and they reorganize the structure of the molecules, creating mutations and, of course, creating the different types of skin, the different types of hair, the ethnicities that we have in our planet. So every uniqueness of each one of us is basically molded by the light. And this pursuit of light throughout all our existence has been designed from the first cell that discovered how to make photosynthesis, which means how to take the photons in order to create energy. Since that moment, basically all life in the planet started to look for the light. So for us today is in terms of wisdom, but for previous times it was the enlightenment itself. The first beings that found enlightenment were the unicellular beings that discovered how to make photosynthesis. And from that, all the vegetal realm that expanded in the planet, and then all the animal realm that ate the plants in order to grab that light as food. So we started to evolve in a way in which hunger gave us the way to find the light, until our minds started to find the light in a different way, by looking towards the stars, by following the sun, by following ideas, by following thoughts, philosophy, and of course, religion. The word God means light or bright. The word divine comes from the word Yael, that means brightness of the sun. So the idea of a God, of a bright God that is shining in the sky, is actually the transcription of the photons coming from the sun. So God can transform our life, but not in a huge level, but inside of ourselves, opening the data and the information that is in the tree of knowledge. These are the two external ways in which feminine side of the tree of life and the masculine side in the tree of knowledge can transform our life. But we can also transform our life by using the same tools. We can take the feminine side and decide, for example, a different way of eating, transcending our culture and trying to listen what our body is saying, trying to learn about what our body processes. Because we not only eat food, we also eat emotions and ideas. So what are we absorbing from the world? What emotions are we eating from other people? What food are we eating just by culture and not because we need it? What food we think we need, but we don't. So all these ideas of what are we eating can make us transform our way of assimilating that information and opening the tree of life within us. So when we start thinking in the maternal side with our left knee, we have to think with flexibility which is the food that is going to open our cells and unlock the information of the tree of life, of the snake of light, the kundalini inside of us. In the other side, the religious way or the tree of knowledge is about what ideas we have, but also how do we relate with our higher self, with our inner self, meaning meditation. How do we absorb the light through consciousness? So eating properly and meditating properly, both together, can find the balance of setting the intention of opening ourselves, grabbing information, but also modifying the information within. We can change the information of the tree of life by changing the way in which we eat and we breathe and we laugh and we love. The cycle of this, the cycle of fire, water, air, and earth, or thymine, cytosine, guanine, and thymine, these four aspects of the inner cell and these four elements of nature can be also transformed in the concept of the mind through a process of four related to expression, experimentation, integration, and transcendence.